Hey guys, this is Off Topic Games, and we have a deck profile on Narukami Vanquisher.
So, we start off with our starter, Wild Run Dragoon. So it's an act, GB1. Your opponent gets to choose a card from the drop zone, binds it, and then you can choose one of your other units, and it gains the ability. Thunderstrike 2, and Thunderstrike is the number amount of cards in the bind zone or more in your opponent. So Thunderstrike 2, this unit gets plus 5k and it's continuous, which is pretty good. Helps the deck get the bind that it deserves, because this deck is all about a little bit of a setup for it. Grade 3s, we run Narukami Vanquisher, the ace card that I can barely grab sometimes, but it helps speeds up the deck when it comes to binding. So GB2, when your opponent's rearguard is put into the drop zone due to an effect from one of your cards, this card gets plus 3k in a crit. It's not the greatest, it's not the best GB2, it's pretty much like Gauntlet Buster, but at least Gauntlet Buster can do it better. What's most important is its stride effect, well, stride rate. So when a card strides on top of this, you may counterblast one, choose one of your opponent's front row rear guards, they retire that card, and then they bind that card. So it's a good start for your bindings. Now for the other backup grade 3s, you can run it however you like, but I run 2 Blizzard Spear Dragoon. I don't care about the first effect, which is the GB1. When it attacks the Vanguard, it gets plus 2k for each card in your opponent's bind zone. But second ability is not bad if you don't ride into your Vanquisher, which is Counterblast 1, Soul Blast 1. When this card is placed on the Vanguard circle, you may pay the cost. If you do, choose one of your opponent's front row rear guards. They retire and bind that card. So it's still not bad, but you would still want to ride Vanquisher. Now your other grade 3 is 1 strike 2 hits Teach-In. I guess it's the name of it. So its ability is an act, so once per turn, GB1, and Thunderstrike 2. Just pay Soul Blast 1. This unit gets plus 2k, and the ability that when it attacks the Vanguard, you can like choose another one of your opponent's rear guards and then attack that too. So you're attacking at least 2 units. Vanguard and at least a rear guard, because I run 2 because he's not the best ride, he's the worst. On a rear guard circle he's pretty decent, can help get rid of some either front row or something from the back row, since this is a Narukami and we mostly retire front row, and some of the effects of ours lets our opponent choose this, so we can't get everything we want, so it's not bad, pretty good. Now for grade 2s, we run 4 Voltage Horn Dragon. Pretty good card. Can make some nice plays with the grade 1. Specific for Vanquisher. Skill is GB1, Counterblast 1. When this unit attacks a Vanguard and is being boosted, you can pay the cost. If you do, your opponent chooses one of their rear guards. They retire that card and then they bind that card. So helps with some of the bindings for this deck too. Pretty good. Now, one of the best grade 2s Narukami could ever get was I run 4 Demonic Dragon Berserker Chitara. Best grade 2 Narukami could ever get. The first skill is it can only attack Vanguard. That's a little bit of the downfall of the card, but it makes up with its second ability, which is when it attacks the Vanguard, it gets plus 3k, and the ability that when it hits the Vanguard on rearguard circle, you can counterblast 1. You can bind 1 card from your opponent's drop zone, so you get to choose what to bind, and then you can also draw a card. Pretty good. This deck, this is Narukami. We hit, we rush. We just don't have a good hand, but Chitara helps with that. It's pretty great. And the last grade 2s, we run 3 Rock Climb Dragoon. It's not bad, but like it could do a little bit more, but it's still a decent card in the deck. Skill is GB1, Counterblast 1, Soul Blast 1. When this unit is placed on rearguard circle, if you have a Vanquisher Vanguard, grade 3 or greater, you may pay the cost. If you do, your opponent chooses one of their rearguards, retires it, then binds that card. Then this unit gets plus 2k. So it's not bad. Sometimes in this deck you have to figure out what which cost to pay, because this deck has some cards for soul blasting. So you just gotta think about it a little bit, decide which cards you want. A grade 2, the grade 3, and I run a grade 1 that soul blasts too. So now for grade 1s, pretty simple. You run 4 Stride Fodder. This deck is pretty much all about striding. If you stop striding for even a minute, the deck's gonna be a little behind on the game sometimes. We run 4 of the PGs, the unflipping PGs, since this deck, it cannot unflip for anything that much, so it's pretty good to have 4 of the unflipping perfect guards. Now, another grade 1 we run is Dragon Dancer Bernadetta, or something like that. I used to run Rising Phoenix, but in most of the games, I felt like I didn't really need to play Phoenix, or Phoenix just costs too much, because Soul Blasting 2, I already have a grade 3, a grade 2, and even this card. Well, but yeah, so skill is Thunderstrike 2, Soul Blast 1. When this unit boosts, the boosted unit gets plus 3k, and the skill, Counterblast 1, when this unit attack hits a Vanguard, you may pay the cost. If you do, your opponent chooses one of their rearguards, retire it, and then bind that card. So I'd like to keep having pressure. I mean, Phoenix helped with draw, but it was just pretty vanilla on the field. This card actually helps put a little bit of pressure when I have some open counterblast, and it helps speed up the binding. Now, one of the important grade 1s that you want to run in this deck for Vanquisher is 4 Chain Bolt Dragoon. Now, Chain Bolt helps a lot when binding cards from your opponent's drop zone. So his skill is, once per turn, GB1, when a card is sent to the drop zone due to an effect from one of your cards, and if you have a Vanquisher Vanguard in its name, grade 3 or greater, your opponent can choose a card from their drop zone, and if they bound a card from the drop zone, you can give another unit plus 2k. So it does help make some numbers when you go into the voltage, pretty much, and it does give more binding. It speeds it up a lot, so that helps. Trigger lineup, it's pretty much eight crit. We run the Djinn because it can go into soul, give a unit plus 3k. Then we run the Vanquisher crit trigger, pretty simple. When your Vanguard Vanquisher in his name attacks, if it's grade 3 or greater, you can put it into Soul, give your Vanguard plus 5k, and draw a card. Other triggers, we run 4 draw. As I said before, this is Narukami. We can't really do hand well, so we need as much as possible. I have seen people use the stand trigger from set 2, but it doesn't really work that well, even though like it does help on flip. But you give me up a stand, put it back, then you draw a card, but really sometimes any booster helps when you go into the voltage. Pretty simple, 4 heals. Now, we go for the striding now. We run 1 Zoros. Skill is, when attack hits the Vanguard, the opponent chooses one of the rearguards, retires it, then you get to choose 2 cards from their drop zone and you bind them.
Most annoying part in the game.
It's not annoying, okay?
You only run 1?
I run 1.
Because so much on this thing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I run 1 because
What is the most annoying card game?
it's not that bad really, because like I'm running something else, a 2 of, but I'll show it to you soon. We run 1 Sea Breeze, yes, Counterblast 2, a little heavy in this deck, but it's a GB deck. We actually need to hit GB or else the deck is very vanilla. It's very plain and skills can't go off. So yeah. Next we run 2 of the Voltic Charger Dragon. The Fires Collection one, 2016. Tried it. I actually like this a lot more since it does help speed a little bit of the binding, and it even, like, if your opponent is just calling rearguards in the back and their front row is pretty empty, that helps since its skill is. So Thunderstrike 3, when this unit attacks a Vanguard, it gets plus 10k and the ability that at the end of the battle, you may pay the cost, which is Counterblast 1. If you do, your opponent chooses one of their rearguards for each 2 cards in their bind zone. So if they have at least like 6 cards in their bind zone, they retire 3 of the rearguards, and those cards get bind too also. So not bad, pretty good. Retire and binding helps the deck a lot. Next we run 4 Conquering Supreme Dragon, Conquest Dragon. It's our backup grade 4 ace, just in case voltage is not hitting the right numbers we want it to. And when you G-guard it, it's pretty good too. So its skill is flip a copy of itself. And if you have 2 or more face-up cards in your G-zone, choose one of your opponent's front row rearguards, retire it. Then, for each empty rearguard circle in the front row of your opponent, your front row gets plus 5k. So pretty much, if they have 2 empty front rows, your whole front row gets 10k. So it's pretty good. Pretty free too, doesn't cost any counterblast. It's a pretty strong card still. Now, we run one of the strongest cards sometimes in this deck, and sometimes it gets weak because opponent is really outthinking us. It's Narukami Vanquisher Voltage. Now, Voltage skill is flip a copy of itself, and it gains 2 abilities. First ability is when this unit attack hits a Vanguard, your opponent chooses a rearguard, retires it. Then you choose 2 cards from the drop zone and bind it. So in a way, it's like your another Zoros. Puts some pressure for your opponent just in case they say no guard or they drop the PG at least. because this is where this card shines the best. Is his second ability, which is GB3 Continuous. For each card in your opponent's bind zone, all of your front row get plus 3k for each card in their bind zone. So if you hit at least 5 cards in the bind zone, your front row get 15k power. If they hit somehow 10 cards in the bind zone, your front row get 30k power. All power, nothing much, and that's what I love about this deck. A lot of power. Finally, we have our G Guardians. We run 2 of the Fighters Collection one. I still don't like it that much because this one only works pretty well with Vanquisher. Any other Narukami deck, it's kind of bleh. Because you need a hit with either Chitara or you need a hit with Zoros. And this deck, you can have either Vanquish, well, yeah, but you can also run Grade 2, where are you? Voltage Horn for it, but then you need GB1 and all that, so it's kind of annoying. But yeah, we only run 2 because, it's not that bad. We run 1 Dismal, just in case. We play one of those decks, the control deck, the locking deck, or heck, we're playing DP because either we want to protect our front row rear guards, or we want to protect the back row so we can do more binding next turn or push a little bit more next turn. And finally, we want to run Screw. 1 Screw. It just helps to have more shield power when you're up against those decks that can hit harder than you, or like protect yourself more from Vanguard attacks. But yeah, deck is pretty simple. You get, you hope to have Vanquisher as your heart, so you get more binding. Have the voltage out. Grab whatever cards in your deck, or in your hand sometimes. If you want to push for game, go for the Chitara. Heck, I even sometimes put my grade 1s in the front row too, because once you hear like your opponent has 15, no, not 15, 6 cards, 5, heck, even 10 cards in their bind zone, you will flip your, Vanquisher, use the effect, because the front row is going to hit so big. Chitara, just in 11k, hearing that either 5 or 10 cards in their bind zone, will be hitting either 26, heck, even 41, even a grade 1 will be fine, because like what? 5 cards bind zone, that's 15, so that's like 22 right there. Even when you hit 10, that's a 37k attacker for just a grade 1 in the front row, and that's pretty strong. And even voltage pressure too. You know your opponent should perfect guard this, because they do not want your lanes to get even more bigger, because it is a continuous skill, that second effect, so it will keep stacking as long as you can keep binding from your opponent's field or drop zone. But yeah, that's pretty much it about my deck on Voltage, the Vanquisher. Strong, not bad. Does need a little bit more support, but it's a pretty good deck. It's a fun deck. I love it. The power, the binding, because it does mess up if your opponent's running Legion, or heck, even cards like from Gear Chronicles Grade 4, G Guardian, because that does put cards back in the deck, which can screw a little bit around for them, but still, it's a fun deck. Some people may hate it, but deep down you'll love it.
Shut up, Dylan.
That's it.
Anyways, thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed. Leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed it. And a comment if you have any questions, comments, or concerns. And check out our Facebook and Twitter. Links are in the description down below. And I'll see you all next time.